Norman Thomas, 6 times candidate for president on the Socialist Party ticket, said the American people would never vote for socialism. But he said under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program.
When this bill is law, 3 strikes and you're out will be the law of the land.
They are absolutely destroying the traditional Western civilization right before our eyes.
And I consider it part of my responsibility as President of the United States to fight against negative stereotypes of Islam wherever they appear.
The intent of the founders, that's what the Supreme Court is supposed to do.
I declare, I'm not going to pay for that wall.
Donald Trump want to protect our nation because he said that if he's in office, he will find the enemy and destroy the enemy.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Roundtable, your all-access pass to the 2016 Red, White, and Blue Conservative Revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600. Now here are your hosts, Del Marsh, Phil Stargell, and Janice Daniels.
And good morning. This is Phil Stargell, and this is the Abolitionist Roundtable of Michigan. And we are about to give you a new direction in this year's election fiasco, as I call it, because the Republican Party has really disillusioned this observer, and that's what we basically are. We're observers, and we bring to you a perspective that comes from being on the minority side of issues and being on the majority side of issues, and we still continually lose ground to socialist, progressive, communist Democrats. And I'm wondering if anybody out there is like me, that is just absolutely sick of this. I mean, every election we got to go into the old playbook of racist people pointing their finger at Republicans and calling every member of the Republican Party a racist. And if you are like myself, a black American, then we are not only lapdogs and even worse, but we are blamed for being on the side of people that are worse than the worst terrorists in Iraq or Syria or coming out of Iran. We are labeled as worse than those people because racism is the worst thing that you can be a participant in, and yet and still these Democrats throw this word around as if it was something to be laughed at. And if you notice the tactic that's being used on programs when they have somebody come on to defend Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party, the tactic that they're using is they laugh out loud and absolutely make it a joke when people say that Donald Trump is reaching out to black Americans, well, African Americans, so-called African Americans. And when they laugh at it, it's such a cynical, sneering laugh that's a tactic, another quiver arrow in the quiver of how to keep Republicans looking as if they are the Neanderthal racist group of people that are holding back every other culture on the face of this earth. And I'm angry about this because what is happening is that the Republican leaders are a part of this nonsense. From the Bushes to the Marco Rubios, the Ted Cruzes, the John Kasichs, the John fight with me, what's his name, the McCain. All of these people are sitting back on their high horse and pointing the finger and saying that because somebody is looking and listening at what is going on in this country and have identified the problem. The problem is we've got open borders, we've got millions of illegal trespassers, and we have a sieve of an immigration, legal immigration problem, a sieve for an immigration program or an immigration body of that says that this should be a number of people that come in, and they should be identified, they should be self-supporting. All of that nonsense is out the window. People come in here, sit down, and collect welfare. We take care of them. They take jobs that should be going to American citizens. And when you say those things, they want to label you as a racist. And I'm just had it because the Republican Party is playing that game with their Democrat, what do we say, employers or contractors or something, because these turncoat Republicans are not in this thing for nothing. And Bill Clinton didn't get rehabilitated by George Bush for nothing, unless George Bush was in on some of this stuff that that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have done with their foundation. You know that there's got to be some reward in this. But the thing about it is, you know, they have allowed Democrats to call them racist, and for years we have had to defend them in order to participate in what we thought was a party that was on the right side of the issue. We were on the constitutional side of things when we said people are coming across the border illegally. We need to, first of all, enforce the law. Now, what's racist about that? Somebody, please tell me. What do you think, man?
Well,
is that racist to want to protect the border?
Of course not. Of course not. And it's that identity politics that has been in existence since the beginning of time. John Adams warned us about a two-party political system because they start out dividing us Republican, Democrat. Then all of a sudden they're dividing us white, black, Asian. Then they're dividing us a gender. I mean, it's just incredible the way the Democrat Party has used identity politics to benefit their causes, and we don't seem to have a response other than we keep trying to defend ourselves against their accusations
of bigotry and racism.
We need to take a different message to the street as far as I'm concerned. Now, I've been thinking about knocking on doors and passing out flyers for Trump, but I'm actually, I don't have a lot of time. I do a lot of different things, and I'm thinking I better put my money where my mouth is. My goal in this next 9 weeks before this election is to buy postcards and put messages on them. Donald Trump got rich building buildings. Hillary Clinton got rich paying favors or currying favor.
Yes.
When's the last time you lived in a favor? You know, I want to make stark messages. Vote Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because that's where we're at right now. We can identify the Democrat Party as the evil party of socialism, communism, all we want, but we've got to take some proactive steps to make sure that the people in the street who are the ones who are going to go into a voting booth and have a curtain or a divider and individually vote for one of these two people, and we better make sure that they vote for Donald Trump.
What do you think about the fact that there seems to be a move on the media to say that since Donald Trump has said that he might soften his views on illegals being sent back once he's elected, and what people are saying is that that's the same amnesty plan that was brought forward by the gang of 5 or the gang of 10 or whatever,
well, I think
with Marco Rubio and that bunch.
I wish that Donald Trump would hire me as one of his advisors. That's
well,
the first thing that I think.
We've talked about that too, haven't we?
Because first of all, the amnesty issue is such a huge issue.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many moving parts, and Donald Trump is on the right track because he's saying America first,
mm-hmm.
and whatever form that takes is yet to be decided. He ought to be saying, when they approach him with these questions, which they're baiting him,
Mm-hmm.
when he is hit with these questions, he needs to immediately divert it to Hillary Clinton's stance on amnesty. She wants to increase refugee resettlement by 500%.
Yeah,
so he should never take the bait.
Mm-hmm.
There are, if he's going to use any
so
methodology.
what would that number look like? Maybe 50,000?
You know what, Phil, let me just point out, thank you, Mayor, absolutely, with the identity politics. Second, when I hear Trump make those comments, I don't really see him changing on the wall, changing on immigration. He has his base. Now, what you have to do is he got to open the door, he got to broaden his base up. Is he being a politician right now? Yes, he's been a politician right now. Yeah, because to grow your base, you have to show that you a little bit more flexible.
But
all he's showing is flexibility.
Doesn't it?
He's just showing that he's opening up.
Doesn't it irk you to see him doing what the opposition in the Republican Party, the people like Kasich?
Well, he's playing into it. He is playing into it, and I don't like that fact. That's why I wish he would hire me as his advisor, because I would never allow him to answer a question that is posed as a gotcha, and that's all they're doing.
Right.
Gotcha question.
But see, the thing about it is, now that opens it up for the Democrats to say that he's flip-flopping, he said this and he said that.
That's the gotcha.
But the thing about it is this an effort on Trump's part? Do you think that this would be an effort on Trump's part to try to get that element like John Kasich, which is, he's so vitally important in Ohio, and this guy is acting like a 3-year-old.
Well, Donald Trump shouldn't even have to appeal to John Kasich.
Yeah.
John Kasich should know that he's got to support the Republican candidate, like we did all those years when the establishment candidate was nominated.
And that's why I posed the question. I mean, folks, by the way, we would love to hear your input on this particular subject, because right now we're in the crucial phase of this election, and if they're going to pull this out, it's going to have to make some real inroads into the Hillary Clinton lead between now and Labor Day, and then after that we need to. Because I still believe if Trump doesn't win by landslide, the Obama Hillary machine is going to steal this election.
Yeah.
We've seen what they did with the FBI. The FBI, all of the information and all of the evidence against Hillary Clinton, there's no way that I would have ever thought that they could just walk up to us and say, we're not going to do this. This is Hillary Clinton.
Right.
We're not gonna stop her from having the opportunity to be the first female. Basically, that's what they were saying. They took Loretta Lynch out of the decision-making process by the most woman-abusing person in the world. Bill Clinton goes up and tells her, "Hey, baby, come on in here and talk to me."
Can you imagine that? A 30-minute conversation on an airplane
how could anybody,
Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General that's supposed to protect the United States of America, meeting with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton. And then a week later, James Comey comes out and says, well, although there's evidence, I'm not going to move it forward for an indictment. It's mind-boggling. But you know what? we can talk about these things a lot, but the issues that we need to talk about is at the grassroots level.
Yeah, those are things we don't have any control over. Yeah,
exactly.
And you know what? Those are all things irrelevant, like you said, at the ground level. Again, this race card that they use all the time is irrelevant. This is something that Democrats use all the time. Again, I find it offensive. Me and Mayor was talking about it's offensive that they believe. Criminal. Well, and that's your word.
Yeah,
but,
you know why I call it criminal? Because they are blatantly lying.
And that's their strategy.
And the reason why I say they're lying is because what they are calling racism, the same people that have been doing this for the last 50 years, 20 years before that, racism, they would have laughed them out of the country.
Well, here,
because the real racism was what racism should be referred to. This stuff that they call racism is not racism.
Right.
So, but anyway, folks, 734-822-1600, you can be part of this conversation, and I'm telling you, I'm boiling. I got steam coming out of my ears.
Get your composure back together. Let's come up with we're here to explain to people what's going on. Yeah, get your composure back. Come on, Phil, you always give good commentaries. You know these people better than anybody, and so you can explain this as good as anybody on the national TV. Here, let me just go back to this for a minute. Just the race. This is something they use all the time. This is their strategy. Of course, we know this is the strategy to solidify their base. This is all it is. And we shouldn't get offended by it. We don't let Donald Trump get all bent out of shape about this at all.
No.
This is a strategy that they always use.
Trump should not even address this.
And
it should be those people that are complaining about the down ballot positions, like in the Senate and in the House. They're worried about that. Those are the guys that ought to be out there and protecting their own self. And Donald Trump will defend himself if he has just a little bit of support. This is one of the reasons why I'm so angry is because people like John McCain and Mitt Romney, they wouldn't even consider defending themselves against the charges that they were racist. And neither one of these guys has ever been in a position where they could do anything that was racist. So they've tarred the whole Republican Party. And when you hear...
Well, I'm going to disagree on that right there. I'm going to disagree
Disagree on what?
Well, every time I talk, I was cut off, so I'm just going to say I'm going to disagree right there. They can't... See, you know what? We seeing one thing here. I listened to Reverend Yu for years, and what he did is he's taught history. And so we have on our side, we have a history that need to continue to be taught. And that history we need to continue to tell that history and show. The Nestor Sousa movie, which when we on with Reverend Yu next week, he's going to be with us. I'm excited about that. But he told the history of the Democrat Party. The Democrats, they always, when we talked about this last week, they always want to define the rules of engagement. They want you to play by that rules, but they create their own rules of engagement. They don't play by the book at all. They want you to play by the book. You have rules of engagement. You can't hurl any bigotry, calling somebody a bigot. You can't hurl any truth at all. And so this is what happened. They don't want you to hurl any truth, and they go out there and just call you all kind of names.
Right.
But also,
and this is their strategy.
But also, the Republicans have not defended themselves. Look at the abuse that George Bush took. I mean, it was painful to me to watch it. And then the only people that would offer any defense to him was a couple of black conservatives. The rest of the Republican Party let him take that abuse. And then what would happen would be the Democrats would turn around and say things like, well, even Colin Powell said this, or even so-and-so said this. Anybody that agreed with what they were saying, they would bring them forth. And you see it, the same playbook happening. Look what happens. John Kasich and people like that, they are cited on a daily basis.
Right.
And instead of these guys at least saying to somebody, we have to defend the Republican Party brand, they act as if they are actively trying to besmirch the Republican brand. And then when you or me as conservatives go to speak to people or talk to people that are embedded in this nonsense, that live in the things that Donald Trump said that was so adverse, what happens? They turn around and say, I don't really want to hear nothing that the Republicans have to say, because their own people in their party agree with what they're saying. And how can you defend that? Yeah. There's no way you can defend it. The people that have to defend it are the people that are being accused.
That's right. Well, I'm happy to report to you, Del and Phil, that Breitbart is reporting that the Black Men for Bernie founder, now I never heard of the group called Black Men for Bernie, but I guess this guy named Bruce Carter started a mission called Black Men for Bernie, and he is now for Trump. Him and his group are for Trump because he knows that Hillary Clinton represents the kind of cronyism, corruption, and evil that the Bernie Revolution was founded upon to overcome. So I think that's a good sign. We've got a large segment of the black community, which I call natural-born Americans rather than black Americans or African Americans. I call them natural-born Americans, and these people are understanding what they're up against. Hillary Clinton represents old school, more poverty, more hideous crime statistics. Donald Trump represents faith in America, that we can do something right, that we can work together to build a better America, and I'm really pleased about that.
Well, we have to get a joint effort about this Republican Party, and this is where the work has to be done, because I see this election going in a direction that we could it could get out of hand here. And you see the press is really pushing this idea that Hillary may just win in a monumental landslide, and that would just we would never recover from that because of the numbers of the illegals that are coming in, and just the fact that the Reagan Revolution was a marker, a road mark, in the evolution of Republican Party. But we failed, and I think the person that identifies what the failure was best is Limbaugh. He says we when we had that success, we stopped doing teaching, and like Dale was saying, the Reverend teaches some of the things that need to be done, and we have forgotten that. We can't sit on our laurels. We have got to keep pushing this thing. You notice that the Democrats, they are constantly on the march. They are the progressives, socialist, communist people, and that's worldwide. That's how they've done. That's how the reason why socialism is such have gotten such advances in the last couple of years. So, we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, and so what I want to do is I want to offer a couple of quick questions, and maybe the audience will start joining in. We'll get to the phones after the break. But the first question I'd like to know, has anybody made a serious accusation to prove that Donald Trump is a racist? And that is the thing that I would like for us to delve into after the break.
listening to the Abolitionists Roundtable, patriotic, red, white, and blue, conservative all-access radio, with your hosts, Del, Phil, and Janice. They're leading the charge in advancing the conservative revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
And we're back, and I want to get back to that particular question that I asked. Has anyone that any of you know has any credible evidence that Trump is a racist? Because what I've known of Donald Trump since the 80s, and I've never heard anybody refer to him as being racist. I've heard him say that he's flamboyant. I've heard him say that he's a playboy. I heard him say that he's rich. But never have I heard anybody say that the man was a racist. So how is it that he gets this tar slammed into his face just because he announces that he's going to run for president as a Republican? That's the only thing that I can see.
Because it's the playbook that works. The Democrats have perfected the playbook of personal destruction. And I don't know how it keeps working. Maybe this is the election where it won't work, because Donald Trump has enough charisma, or there are other words I'd like to use, but I can't.
Well, charisma. He has the backbone.
Yeah, backbone. Good. That's a good word.
Well, one thing that I heard a young so-called African American councilman or something, he said that he felt that it was an insult that everybody referred to Donald Trump as Mr. Trump.
Well, that's nuts. What do we have to say, Mrs. Trump? I mean,
well, but see, this is the thing. I look at it, people giving him his respect because he's accomplished.
Right.
What you just said. What did you say about he won?
Well, he got rich building buildings.
Right,
Hillary
right.
got rich passing out favors.
Yes.
You know, have you ever lived in a favor? No, but you lived in a building.
That's right. And those favors were because the power was Bill. She's done that ever since he was the Secretary of State of Arkansas.
Exactly right. If we're going to vote for the first woman president, which I don't think is a goal that we should have in America, but if we are, why don't we vote for a woman who is self-made, who is accomplished on her own, not someone like Hillary Clinton who has done absolutely nothing.
Nothing. But then Bill's wife.
Bill's wife, Bill's wife.
Yeah.
Wasn't that
she's
great?
Riding on that coattail.
And she even says Bill's going to handle the economic portion of her platform
and
because he's good at it.
Yeah. Before we get to that any further, don't you remember when they were elected? They said you get 2 for 1.
2 for 1, yeah.
You remember that? She was going to run health care, and so, you know, for my money, the Congress ought to get busy and pass a law that says if you are the spouse of a president, you know, you get into that thing with the vice president, you know, that's it. No more for you, you know.
Right.
She's already been the president for 4 years because of Bill Clinton's dogging around like he's been doing. So, anyway, we're going to go to line 1, and we're going to talk to Bruce from Grosse Pointe. Go ahead, Bruce.
Good morning, guys. Great program. You know, there's nobody that can credibly, and as far as I know, that can credibly claim that Donald Trump has uttered even anything as remotely resembling one syllable of a racist word or anything like that, or any type of racist thought or anything like that. You know, you've got people like Juan Williams, you know, that get up there with Sean Hannity. He's trying to stir the pot. And like he did last night, and it just didn't work. I mean, Niger Innes was on with Sean, a reverend by the name of I forget his last name, Darrell somebody or other, and they were both letting Juan Williams have it. And all I could do is sit there with his smirk on his face, you know, and it was just embarrassing. If I were him, I would. You know, I would be embarrassed beyond belief. But you know, that's the thing. Janice, you're so right. Labels have worked. They have worked so hard, but they work if somebody doesn't answer back. And
That's
Phil,
right.
you're absolutely right about Bush. I too was just mortified when he was attacked so mercilessly, by Kennedy and Pelosi and Reid and all the usual suspects. And I'm thinking to myself, George, why don't you do it? And Sean Hannity said, George, why don't you fight back? And he said, Mr. President, why don't you fight back? And he said, Sean, it's just not worth it. Wow. I said, wait a minute, it's not worth it.
Yep. So that's how he chose to protect his own legacy, because he could have brought his administration in and had a talk with him. This is the strategy to defend myself, defend our party, defend our legacy, but he chose not to. So for me, if that's what he chose not to do, it's not for me to turn around and try to defend him. I turned around. During his administration, I defended what was true and what was accurate, and that's what I did.
Well, Del, Bush, during his tenure, he had 2 secretaries of state of color and of opposite genders, Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, as well as, I don't know how many other folks of color were in his cabinet or his administration.
I wasn't even concerned with.
They were attacked. Remember that cartoon, that vulgar cartoon of Condoleezza Rice as Aunt Jemima or something like that. That was insulting.
Yeah. And even what's his name, Colin Powell, he was insulted. But then Colin Powell turned around and switched over, and said, used this unfounded, just the same kind of thing that Phil was talking about, this race card, unfounded accusations he hurled, and came up with this boogeyman that he said that was in the Democrat and the Republican Party, and he switched over and never mentioned the history, the long legacy of the Democrat Party. And Hillary just recently turned around, a typical Democrat, and tried to tie him into her own mess. And he said, well, hold on, I don't remember anything, saying anything about that right there. That's typical liberal, that's their typical game plan.
But they passed out a favor
and let's not forget this. If you saw Dinesh D'Souza's movie like we did, the Democrats also stood in the way of voting rights for women. The Democrats, Andrew Jackson, when he was president, he ordered the Indians removed from their land and transferred out west to these reservations where they've been to the present day. So this isn't just with blacks, with
everybody.
Everybody.
It's their legacy, absolutely. And matter of fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to help Reverend you. On this show, we're gonna try to bring out some of them books and just go back over the history of the Democratic Party going up into November.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've heard a lot of people ask. That are Democrats, that are in political life, they have asked whether or not Donald Trump has ever done or said anything that was racist. And that's why I asked the question. I think that question is important because they looked to find things that they could tie to make him a racist, but they have absolutely nothing to look at when it comes to Hillary Clinton being tied to Margaret Sanger.
Absolutely. And that's another point. As far as I write a book. Defending the rights of the unborn, especially in the minority black community, begging, pleading for black women not to murder their children before they're born. And I get called a racist by some of the people who have read this book, because I suppose I went after the National Negro Advisory Council that Planned Parenthood set up all those years ago. And I titled the chapter "The Useful Idiots of Margaret Sanger." That's exactly what they were. What was I going to title it? I'm the racist.
Well, Bruce, your input has been very important this morning because it has given a little bit of insight as to why this question has to be asked. Because every time the election time comes around, that is the lead card that they throw out. And from that point on, everything that they do is to prove that their opponent is a racist.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Bruce, for your
Okay,
call
guys,
this
I know you
morning.
got other callers, so you take care. Have a great weekend. God bless you all.
Derek, if you would you play that piece by Donald Trump where he says he's reaching out to the African American community?
I say it again, what do you have to lose? Look, what do you have to lose? You're living in poverty, your schools are no good, you have no jobs, 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
Thank you, Derek. I saw a young lady that was on, I think, CNN last night. She said that was offensive. That was racist. What
Are
he
you
just
kidding?
said, yes.
And I thought it was so natural, so common person kind of speak, speaking in the language of the people, rather than even going off into this analogy of what is racism, who is a racist, just right down to the ground. Mm-hmm. What have you got to lose?
Yeah, and she was angry that he said that the schools were bad, and they are. They are absolutely the worst in the world, and I've become, they've actually convinced people in cities like Detroit that their wealth, their real value, is tied up in government programs.
That's
right.
But they're aborting their real wealth. The next generation.
That's right.
Legacy.
That's exactly right.
Exactly right.
That's another one of my postcards that I want to create. Yeah. Donald Trump is friends with Ben Carson, a world-renowned physician.
Yes.
But Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton are tied to Valerie Jarrett, a communist.
Yes.
So, or Al Sharpton, a world-renowned race baiter. Just to make some simple, clear differentiations, vote for Donald Trump.
Yes. We're going to go to the lines on, we're going to go on line one. Are you there, Jack from Milan?
Yeah. I just wanted to make a comment about the Republican Party is betting that people like the Democratic Party are so stupid that they're not realizing what they're doing. I, for one, have been a Republican for over 40 years. And if they don't fail to get behind Trump and invigorate, I don't see myself voting for him again. I know they've sent me things for money lately, and I've sent them back. I says, how can you ask me for money when you're not even behind the president?
Yes.
These guys, like you guys said, they're all flopping spit together. The heads of the thing, John McCain, all those guys, they all need to go.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm not going to say what I'm going to do if we lose this election, but I'm wholly in agreement with what you said, but I'm going to tell you, I am so disappointed and so angry that we can't get together and figure out how to beat a candidate of the caliber of Hillary Clinton. This is
flawed as she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Bill Clinton sitting in the back behind her, grinning like a chess cat.
Yeah, when he knows the camera's on him. Yeah. When he doesn't know the camera's on him, he's sitting there like some kind of someone in the ozone or something. I couldn't help but laugh when I watched Hillary's speech at the Democrat National Convention where Bill Clinton was on the camera, and when he didn't realize it, he truly looked like he was drugged or going to sleep or something was wrong with him. And then all of a sudden he spotted the camera on him, and he gets this big old smile on his face. How disingenuous can you be? It's black and white. I mean, you want to talk black and white. It's the truth versus lies.
Yes.
It's I got a comic sent to me the other day, and it really pretty much summed it up. It had the devil sitting next to Hillary, and Hillary looked over and said, "You said I was going to win the election." And the devil goes to her, "You said you had a soul." So that kind of sums it up. And young lady, you're an American. I've never heard any of my Canadian friends ever say they're a black Canadian. Yeah. We're all Americans.
That's right. That's right.
And we're God-fearing Americans.
Yeah, and you know what? That has become a point of contention on the part of the Democrats. Look, Hillary Clinton has even actually shunned the endorsement of the large police unit, union in the country, by delaying and dragging her feet, she really doesn't want the endorsement of the police, you know, and that to me is just unconscionable. But she welcomes Black Lives Matter. She welcomes La Raza,
right,
and things like that. I'm just sitting here amazed that the American people even consider voting for this woman.
I would like to know what the black community in large thinks about law and order. I have got to believe that the majority good, honest, hardworking black people in this country want their streets to be safe, want their streets to be clean. You know, am I wrong? Who's
the first one they call when there's a drive-by?
Yeah.
They're not calling Black Lives Matter. I don't know if you saw the thing on Facebook. You had a young black man going, all you people came down here when the guy got shot in Louisiana. You were marching the Black Panthers. You were all here. I haven't seen a boat that says Black Lives Matter or Black Panthers or any of this. They says, this is just normal people helping each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to get past this. You know, and as long as people are allowed to race bait and intimidate and stuff like that, you know, people just got to love each other. You know, we're all here for the same thing.
Well, I hope you're right. That's the only thing I can say. But if this election turns out with Hillary as the commander-in-chief, I'm seriously wondering. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot for your call, Jay.
Thank you.
And so that's the thing that worries me when you say don't black people want clean streets and
safe neighborhoods. Well-educated children. You know, there's a future that we've got to think about. Our children are all such gifts from God, and we need to set an environment, and that's the role of government, just to protect us, to be able to set an environment where we do have safe streets.
And you know, we've for years we've echoed those words, said that was the priority, but we've settled for the Democrat version of that. And what that is we're going to talk the game, but we're going to do something absolutely 100% opposite of what we say.
How many years of this is it going to take, Del?
Of what?
Of the Democrat Party saying one thing and then the results being completely different.
Well, you know what? I think that Donald Trump did a good thing by just doing that outreach. And second, now what he needs to do is just get in have a little bit more diverse audience. Or even go to the NAACP, go to all these different groups and outreach to them. I mean, and have a serious outreach. The reason why they were critical of him in the first place is because the audience, the time that he did this, he chose those words. They looked around at the audience and said, "Why would you say something like this? This was not a very diverse audience." Well, you know, people, they didn't choose to go at that particular time. You see. Whenever I watch some of the campaigns, he have a very diverse audience. But absolutely, the Democrat Party have had a control over people, not just blacks, but all people of all different ethnicities. And they keep this suppression on him. And so it's time for this suppression to move on. And, you know, he did this first outreach. I outreached to Mr. Trump myself. And, you know, whenever I outreach to somebody, I get results. And you know, and I'm willing to introduce in the field myself and Milt, and just help him with the wording and outreaching to people.
I think you're exactly right. He does need a serious lesson in how to present that outreach.
Well, you know, he's coming to Detroit on September 3rd, so maybe somehow we can get in that audience where he's going to be talking to leaders in the community, black leaders in the community, to find out how he can build the message, to build the support. He's coming to Detroit on September 3rd. That's the day that I'm going to be hosting Art of Michigan with the ladies of the Roundtable.
Oh, that's
and you guys are going to be with Pastor Ewell.
Yeah. But next week we'll be we'll be on Pastor Ewell's show. He's going to be out of town, but Milt is going to be hosting, and so we should have a good time there.
Maybe we can get Donald Trump on an interview. Wouldn't that be great?
No.
Well,
we should try that.
I would think that, whatever politician, national reputation, ought to be interested in the original black conservative group in this area in the Midwest.
Right.
Preeminent.
Well, that's why he's coming to Detroit.
Yeah. So
I think it's exciting.
I'm sure that at some point, the Abolitionist Roundtable group will be in touch with and Dale has made the outreach, right?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
And so myself, if I outreach to somebody, I usually have pretty good results.
That's right. So, so we to be continued. So right now, we've got Gary from Hazel Park on line 1. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, everyone.
How you doing?
One of the last callers, one of the things he said was that we're all in this for the same thing, and that's absolutely wrong. The Democrats want to dominate. They want to control. They want to make us do what they want us to do, whether we like it or not. And that's one of the reasons we're in such trouble, because we didn't realize this decades ago. We didn't see it decades ago, because we thought that we were America and we would rise above it, and the people wouldn't stand for it. But we did stand for it, and now we're in this mess. If Hillary Clinton gets elected, our nation may well never recover from it.
I agree with that. One thing we talked about not teaching, President Johnson said when he signed the Civil Rights Bill, we'll have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. He's got a 50-year down payment on that wish list, and I absolutely see nothing on the horizon that will stop that 200-year block of voting for Democrats.
Except maybe Donald Trump.
Maybe Donald Trump, because they are going to fight him every day.
They are going to fight.
Angle, if he ever becomes president.
Yeah,
they will not let up a minute.
And it's important to just keep teaching the history, here and on Joshua's Trail. And that's the important part right there, more than anything. Keep teaching that history.
Yeah, I agree with you, and
because they don't know.
We have to go back to Reagan, because once that landslide hit, you know what? We did not continue to, because right now they'll tell you that the success Ronald Reagan had wasn't due to his policies of cutting taxes. They're saying that he had to raise taxes, in order to, but they never say anything about the outlandish spending on the part of the Democrats.
Well, that's right, and that was supposedly part of the deal, is he was going to be okay with raising taxes if they would cut the spending, and they never cut the spending.
They never
Typical Democrats.
Yep. Well, yeah, they took their rule book from Himmler and Goebbels, propaganda and disinformation.
Tell a lie big enough and long enough.
Yeah, well, black author J.K. Jemisin said if the first words out of your mouth are to cry political correctness, chances are very, very high that you are, in fact, part of the problem.
And we will see you next week when Janice will be in the chair.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
To continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan, 48135.
Or follow Phil, Del, and Janice at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.